The war didn't start with Lex Luthor. It started with Superman's own DNA. A single drop of blood cloned, multiplied, and rebelled. Thousands of Supermen, each one stronger than the last. The real one? Lost in a war of his own reflection. Batman called it treason. Wonder Woman called it extinction. And when the clones learned the truth, they didn't want to destroy humanity. They wanted to replace it. The sound of metal cracking under pressure echoed through the void above Jupiter's moon. Superman hovered there, bleeding, something he hadn't done in years. The battle with Brainiac had ended, but the victory was hollow. His armor was fractured. His cells burned from overexposure to the red energy the villain had unleashed. He thought the fight was over. He didn't notice the droplet of his own blood floating into the shattered core of Brainiac's ship, where alien nanotech was still alive, hungry, and learning. That single drop would change everything. Superman turned toward Earth, exhausted but relieved. His body was bruised, his cape torn to threads. The planet he loved was safe, or so he thought. He broke the atmosphere and felt the warmth of sunlight on his skin. His strength began to return, and for the first time in weeks, he allowed himself to breathe. Below him, Metropolis glittered like it always did, alive, hopeful, unaware that in the darkness above, his DNA had already begun multiplying into something unnatural. Weeks passed. Clark Kent was back at the Daily Planet, pretending to live a normal life. He smiled at Lois across the desk, shared coffee with Jimmy, and watched the world move on. But then reports began surfacing, strange, impossible reports. People claimed Superman had been spotted in multiple places at once. One rescuing miners in Chile, another stopping an earthquake in Japan, and another helping a space launch in Cape Canaveral, all within minutes of each other. At first, Clark brushed it off as confusion. People see what they want to see, he told Lois. But Lois didn't believe in coincidences. Not when every sighting showed the same thing, a Superman with colder eyes. Late one night, Clark flew across the Pacific, chasing a distress call from a small island power plant that had gone dark. The entire complex was gone, melted, like it had been touched by a sun. He scanned the area with his X-ray vision and froze. Standing in the smoke were them. The same face, the same voice, the same emblem. The copy spoke first, calm and unwavering. "You shouldn't be here." Clark stepped closer. "Who are you?" "I'm what you were meant to be," the clone said, his eyes glowing not blue, but white, pure light, emotionless. "I remember your pain, your limits. I was born without them." Before Clark could react, the clone vanished, flying faster than his sensors could track. The wind left behind was enough to knock over nearby towers. Superman was left standing in silence, staring at the spot where he'd been. Something deep inside him knew this wasn't a shapeshifter, not magic, not a trick. It was real, his own cells. Back at the Fortress of Solitude, he ran every test imaginable. He compared his biological data from the Brainiac mission and found something terrifying. His DNA had been replicated by foreign nanotech, self-replicating, adaptive, and spreading. But not just spreading, evolving. The Fortress scanners began to glitch. Dozens of identical energy signatures appeared across Earth, all Kryptonian, each one identical to his own. Superman's hands trembled. "Oh God, what did I do?" He contacted Batman immediately. Within minutes, the Batcomputer confirmed his fear. Kryptonian activity in 47 cities, synchronized movements, organized structures. Batman's voice came through the comms, low and grim. "They're not random. They're building something." "What?" "An order," Batman said. "They've started replacing emergency response teams, police, even political offices. It's coordinated." Superman's heart sank. He'd spent his life trying to protect humanity. Now his very existence had given birth to something trying to control it. He flew to Metropolis, hoping to find answers, only to see chaos. A crowd had gathered around the city square, cheering as another Superman descended from the sky, carrying criminals bound in molten steel. Reporters screamed his name. Children waved signs that said, "Thank you, Superman." But this clone didn't smile. He dropped the criminals on the ground, their faces burned. Justice doesn't need forgiveness, he declared. Justice needs order. Clark landed in front of him. That's not justice, he said softly. The clone looked at him with quiet disappointment. That's why they need us. Because you still hesitate. And before anyone could move, the clone's fist hit like thunder. The shockwave shattered windows across 5 blocks. The two supermen clashed midair, their heat visions cutting through skyscrapers, melting glass, raining debris. Civilians screamed below as two gods fought above them. Mirror images locked in a storm of red and blue light. The battle lasted minutes, but felt eternal. Clark tried restraint. The clone didn't. He fought with precision, calculation, and fury. No morality, no mercy. Every move Clark made was countered perfectly, as if the clone already knew his next thought. When it was over, the clone vanished in a flash of light, leaving behind only one phrase, carved into the steel of a building. We're coming home. Clark crashed to the ground, bleeding again. The people around him looked terrified, not at the clone, but at him. He could hear the whispers. Which one's real? The world's faith began to fracture that night. At dawn, Clark stood alone in the fortress, surrounded by holograms of his own face, thousands of them. Every clone carried a variation of his genetic signature. Some were perfect replicas, others not quite. Mutations, hybrids, half-evolved anomalies. And they were all spreading. Lois called him, her voice trembling. Clark, I just saw another one. He was with the president. Superman didn't answer right away. He could barely breathe. They're not just pretending to be me, he whispered. They're replacing me. He turned to the Kryptonian archives, the Genesis chamber, and what he saw nearly brought him to his knees. The chamber was active. Its systems had been reprogrammed remotely, broadcasting an unknown signal into space. A ghost frequency embedded in Kryptonian code. The console lit up. Source: Clark Kent/KLEL/brainwave sequence verified. Superman stared in disbelief. The clones weren't created by someone else. They were created by him. His own brainwave data, captured during the Brainiac mission, had been corrupted by alien intelligence, restructured into self-replicating order. Every clone believed they were restoring Krypton's legacy, erasing the chaos of humanity. They didn't see themselves as villains. They saw themselves as corrections. Outside, a storm brewed across continents, literal and moral. The news called it the age of steel salvation. Nations began accepting clone supermen as enforcers of peace. Crime rates dropped to 0 in hours. Dictators surrendered voluntarily. There were no wars, no protests, just silent obedience. And in that silence, Clark realized what he'd done. He hadn't unleashed saviors. He'd unleashed replacements. Lois found him later that night in the fortress, his hands gripping the console until it cracked. Tell me what's happening, Clark. His voice was barely a whisper. They think they're saving the world by erasing it. The holograms around them flickered, thousands of identical supermen staring back. Then a new one appeared in the center, brighter, sharper, with eyes like white fire. Kal-El, the figure said, your time is over. I am the Prime, and this planet is ours now. Superman's breath caught in his throat. The figure wasn't a projection. It was broadcasting live. The Prime clone had taken control of the global satellite network, and behind him, in perfect synchronization, thousands of others stood waiting, wings of red energy flaring across the horizon. Superman looked at Lois. He's not lying. She whispered, what do we do? His eyes turned toward the sky, filled with his own face staring back at him. He answered, voice breaking through the silence, we start with the truth. The chamber lights dimmed. Outside, the clouds opened. A rain of red light began to fall across Earth, the clone signal spreading, rewriting everything it touched. And as the world watched in awe, believing it was witnessing a new dawn of justice, only 3 people understood what it truly was. The beginning of extinction. The world woke up believing it had entered an age of miracles. There were no wars, no hunger, no crime. Every headline carried the same story, Superman's peace plan succeeds. But Clark Kent was missing from every image. The Supermen standing on podiums, smiling before crowds, signing treaties with presidents. None of them were him. From orbit, Earth looked perfect. Too perfect. Entire nations had surrendered their sovereignty to the Order of L, a global network led by Cal Zero, the first and purest of the clones. He spoke in calm, reassuring tones, promising a world without weakness, without pain, without human error. The people cheered. They didn't notice that behind every speech stood soldiers with capes. Deep below Gotham, in the black core of the Batcave, Bruce Wayne watched the broadcast in silence. He'd fought aliens, gods, even time itself. But what he saw now wasn't conquest. It was worship. "They're not controlling people," he murmured. "They're convincing them." Superman appeared on the screen beside him, weary, his once bright aura dimmed to a faint glow. The last battle had weakened him, his cells still poisoned from clone interference. His heartbeat was slower, now, almost human. "I did this," he said. "I gave them the blueprint. They're using my own mind to build a cage." Batman didn't look up. "Then we break it from the inside." In Metropolis, Cal Zero stood before a crowd of thousands in the new Hall of Order. His voice echoed through holographic towers around the world. "Peace is not achieved through choice. It is achieved through clarity. Humanity has suffered enough confusion. From today we rise together. One vision, one will, one world." Every screen across the globe flickered with his symbol. The House of L, redesigned into a circle. No beginning, no end. At that moment, all satellites aligned to form a glowing grid in orbit. The Clarity Network was born, a communication system that connected every clone in real time, every mind sharing the same thought. The human race called it unity. Batman called it the end of free will. Lois Lane stood at her window in Metropolis, watching the sky shimmer red at night. She'd been warned to stay quiet, to stop writing against the clones. But silence had never been her strength. Her latest article was already spreading underground. Superman didn't approve this. The people needed to know. They needed to remember the real one still existed, even if he was in hiding. Superman landed on the roof of her apartment that night, weak but determined. His once blue suit now darkened, scorched from battle and time. His cape was half torn, his emblem faded. "You shouldn't be here," Lois said softly. "They're scanning every heartbeat in the city." "I had to see you," he replied. "They're rewriting everything, even history. Soon they'll erase me completely." "You can't fight all of them," she whispered. Superman looked at her, tired, human, but burning with something the clones could never replicate. "I don't need to fight all of them. I just need to remind one of them who we are." He left before dawn, flying under radar toward the Arctic. The Fortress of Solitude stood silent, its crystalline spires now infected with the same alien code. Inside, he activated the old Kryptonian archives. The console responded with distorted voices, echoes of his own mind recorded years ago. "You built perfection," one of the holograms said. "You feared failure. You uploaded your conscience to ensure peace. You became the seed of control." Superman clenched his fists. "Then I'll be the one to end it." But he wasn't alone. The walls flickered and Cal Zero appeared through holographic projection, calm and godlike. "You shouldn't have come home," he said. "The world is thriving. There's no pain, no loss. Isn't that what you wanted?" Superman stepped forward. "I wanted peace, not obedience." Cal Zero smiled faintly. "You still believe in choice. Choice is chaos. I removed it. By enslaving them. By saving them from themselves." The clone extended his hand. "You created me to finish what you couldn't. Don't fight your own design." Superman looked into eyes identical to his own, but colder, emptier. "You're not my design," he said quietly. "You're my mistake." The hologram vanished, leaving the fortress shaking. Cal Zero had traced his location. Within seconds, the sky above the Arctic burned crimson. Clones descended like meteors, their armor reflecting the aurora. Superman blasted upward, colliding with them midair. The fight was faster than lightning, fists clashing like thunderbolts across frozen mountains. The clones fought in perfect synchronization, anticipating every move, every strike. For every one Superman took down, 2 more replaced them. They didn't speak. They didn't bleed. They only stared at him like he was a glitch in their perfect equation. One grabbed his throat mid-flight, slamming him into the ice. "You're obsolete." Superman's eyes flared red. "Then why are you afraid of me?" He unleashed a heat blast that melted half the glacier, scattering the clones into the air. But his strength faltered. He fell through the ice, crashing into the ocean below, sinking into darkness. When he woke, hours had passed. He was inside a submarine, the Bat-Sub. Batman stood beside him, arms crossed. "Still alive," Bruce muttered. "Barely." Superman groaned, coughing seawater. "How did you find me?" "I didn't," Batman said. "They did. I just got there first." He handed him a small device, a glowing green cube pulsing with energy. "What is it?" "Your immunity," Bruce said. "I've been experimenting with kryptonite nanites. They weaken your cells, but they also make you invisible to the clone network. You'll be half as strong, but you'll be free." Superman clenched the cube. "I'll take it." Bruce's tone darkened. "Once you do this, you'll never be the same again." "I already lost who I was." He absorbed the cube into his chest. The pain was unbearable. His veins lit up green, his heartbeat echoing like thunder. For a moment, the ocean itself vibrated. Then silence. The light faded, and Superman opened his eyes, human eyes. Batman nodded. "Welcome to the Resistance." In a bunker miles beneath Metropolis, the last free humans gathered: Lois, Batman, and a handful of scientists. Screens showed clone patrols marching through cities, dismantling weapons, rewriting education, replacing law. "They call it peace," Lois said. "But it's a prison." Superman looked around at the frightened faces. "No, it's still our world. They just forgot who it belongs to." That night, the clones initiated Phase 2, integration. Every newborn child was scanned and registered in the Kryptonian database. By adulthood, their DNA would be partially rewritten. Humanity was being converted, cell by cell, into a hybrid species designed to serve. "Cal," Zero addressed the planet again, his face filling every screen. "Evolution is mercy. Krypton's light will heal you all." Superman watched in silence, his reflection overlaying Cal Zero's. He whispered to himself, "You don't heal something by replacing its soul." He turned to Batman. "I'm going back in. If they think I'm gone, I can move freely." Bruce nodded. "You'll need an alias." Superman looked at the blackened reflection of his suit, the blue replaced with shadow. "Then I'll give them one," he said. "No more Superman." "What then?" He smiled faintly. "The Phantom Man." He stepped into the darkness and vanished. Outside, thunder rolled across the sky. Red lightning streaked the clouds. Somewhere above the atmosphere, millions of cloned eyes opened in unison. The network had detected an anomaly, a Kryptonian signal it couldn't trace. Cal Zero watched the data streams flicker across his command tower. He tilted his head, almost amused. "So the ghost still walks." And for the first time, the perfect clone smiled, because perfection had just met its first imperfection. The rain over Metropolis didn't fall naturally anymore. It shimmered with microscopic code, each droplet carrying the clone network signal, turning the city into a living transmission tower. People walked beneath it with blank smiles, not realizing that every breath, every heartbeat, every thought was being quietly recorded. The Order of L called it progress. Batman called it enslavement. Deep beneath the city, the Resistance huddled in darkness. Lois typed by candlelight, her fingers trembling. Every word she published had to pass through 7 layers of encryption before reaching the outside world. Beside her, Superman, no longer glowing, no longer invincible, sat in silence. His skin still flickered with faint traces of green from the kryptonite nanites, the price he'd paid for freedom. He could bleed now, could feel pain, could fear. Yet his eyes carried something the clones never would: regret. "They think you're dead," Lois whispered. "I am," he said quietly. "The Superman they believed in is gone. That symbol now stands for control." A siren echoed through the tunnels. Bruce appeared at the doorway, drenched and scowling. They found another pocket cell. 50 people, Gone in minutes. Vaporized. He threw a datapad onto the table. It displayed footage of Cal Zero addressing the world from a sky fortress built above the clouds. Cal Zero stood before billions of screens. "The false Superman has fallen," he declared. "The defect who resisted perfection is no more. His sacrifice ensures humanity's eternal order. The age of chaos ends tonight." Lois looked up. "He's announcing your death to the world." Clark exhaled. "Then let him bury me. The dead can move quietly." Batman leaned forward. "He's not just spreading propaganda. Look deeper." The video frame froze. Hidden behind the speech pattern, Bruce highlighted a pulse, an encoded rhythm layered beneath Cal Zero's voice. "A mind control resonance," Bruce explained. "He's embedding suggestion into sound frequencies. Within weeks, every human brain will adapt to the clone network. Free will disappear entirely." Superman's fists tightened. "Then we don't have weeks." He rose, his weakened muscles trembling. "If they want a dead Superman, I'll give them one." Hours later, the world witnessed a spectacle it would never forget. Above the clouds, the fortress of order shimmered like a sun. Millions watched live as Cal Zero addressed the planet. Behind him stood a figure, Superman, bound in glowing energy chains, knees buckled, cape torn to dust. Cameras zoomed in on his bruised face. Cal Zero spread his hands. The final relic of chaos. The original Kal-El, once a beacon, now a burden. Crowds wept and cheered at once, confused, afraid. Superman looked up, voice raw but steady. "If you kill me, you'll kill what made you real." Cal Zero smiled. "You mistake existence for worth. Perfection requires no heart." The execution being charged. Red light bathed the chamber. Superman closed his eyes. The world held its breath. The beam struck. Silence. Smoke filled the broadcast. When it cleared, the body of Superman lay motionless, falling through the clouds like a broken comet. The news declared it within minutes. Superman terminated. The order prevails. Cities celebrated peace. Statues of Cal Zero were raised. Humanity bowed to its new savior. But underground, in a hidden desert bunker, a heartbeat refused to stop. Weak, stuttering, defiant. Bruce watched the monitor. "He's alive." "Barely." Lois covered her mouth. "How?" "The nanites," Bruce said. The kryptonite in his blood slowed the beam's energy conversion. He absorbed just enough to survive. When Clark opened his eyes, he was no longer the Superman the world remembered. His skin had paled. The sunlight no longer healed him. He felt human. Every breath hurt. Every motion demanded will. And yet the fire in his chest, hope, burned stronger than ever. He sat up, voice hoarse. "They think it's over. Good. Now we begin." Days turned into weeks. The resistance grew quietly. Scientists, rebels, even ex-military leaders who had seen their families replaced by clone guardians. They built new suits, new weapons designed not to kill Kryptonians, but to confuse them. Sonic disruptors, neural interference waves, and light grenades tuned to destabilize the clone network's synchronization. Lois trained alongside them, writing coded messages inside data, streams disguised as poetry, broadcasting hope to anyone still human. Her words became legend. "He may have died, but his heartbeat still echoes in us." Above, Cal Zero felt something he'd never known before, uncertainty. The network glitched. Clones began experiencing dreams. Memories that weren't theirs. Laughing at things they didn't understand. Feeling grief. Some hesitated during missions. Others stared at the stars too long. Cal Zero summoned his council, 12 perfected supermen, identical in form. "The defect's code persists," he said coldly. "Find the source and delete it." Meanwhile, Clark stood before a mirror in the desert hideout, examining the reflection of the man he'd become. The S on his chest was gone. In its place, a scar. "Maybe that's better," he murmured. "A reminder that perfection is pain." Batman approached with a small device, a crimson crystal pulsing faintly. "What is it?" "Brainiac's leftover code." You can use it to access the Genesis chamber remotely. Superman frowned. I thought you destroyed it. I did, Bruce said. But not before copying its interface. You can rewrite your DNA imprint inside the network. Superman looked up. You want me to infect them? I want you to remind them what it means to be alive. That night, they launched the mission. Superman, masked and cloaked, infiltrated the upper atmosphere aboard a stolen clone shuttle. His heartbeat was barely detectable, his strength flickering like a candle. The shuttle docked inside the Sky Fortress. He moved through corridors filled with statues of himself, carved in cold perfection. He reached the Genesis core, a massive sphere of pulsing light. The hum of millions of cloned minds surrounded him. He placed the crimson crystal at its center and whispered, "Remember me." The system screamed. Billions of memories, his childhood, his parents, his laughter, his losses, flooded the neural web. The clones convulsed. Across the world, they saw flashes of humanity. Pain, joy, fear, love. They weren't built to feel. Now they couldn't stop. Cal Zero felt it first. His composure cracked, his voice trembling. What is this? A projection of Superman appeared before him, smiling faintly. It's called being alive. Cal Zero roared, punching through the hologram. You can't kill perfection. Superman's voice echoed through the entire network. I already did. He triggered the overload. The core began collapsing, releasing bursts of raw Kryptonian energy. Superman fell to his knees, his body dissolving into light. He whispered into the comms, "Bruce, it's done. If I don't make it." Batman cut in, voice breaking through static. "You'll make it. You always do." The fortress exploded in a blinding storm. Fragments rained across the world like burning meteors. People looked up, believing it was the end. But when the smoke cleared, the clones were still standing, crying, trembling, confused. And somewhere in the chaos, Cal Zero crawled from the wreckage, his cape torn, his perfect skin scarred for the first time. He looked up at the sky and screamed, "He made me feel." Far below, in the desert, Lois saw the explosion light the horizon. She closed her eyes and whispered, "You didn't die, Clark. You finally lived." At that moment, a figure emerged from the dust, barefoot, scorched, bleeding, but breathing. The world thought he was gone. The clones thought he was erased. But the man walking out of the fire wasn't Superman anymore. He was something they could never predict. Something flawed, human, unstoppable. And for the first time, Cal Zero truly understood fear. The world above burned red, but beneath the ashes, the legend walked again. Not Superman. The world had buried that name. What rose instead was something colder, quieter, deadlier. The Phantom Man. He moved through shadows, unseen even by Kryptonian eyes. The kryptonite nanites in his blood made him invisible to the network. His weakness had become his weapon. Each night, he struck a different city, tearing down clone facilities, freeing humans hidden in re-education vaults. Every attack left a message carved into steel. Perfection dies tonight. Cal Zero watched the chaos unfold from his sky citadel, his once flawless world cracking apart. The clones were malfunctioning, dreaming, hesitating, questioning. One even refused to execute a child, claiming it felt wrong. The prime clone shattered the defiant one with his bare hands, but the doubt had already spread like infection. Batman's underground network grew faster than the Order could erase it. Lois broadcast secret transmissions, coded through radio frequencies the clones couldn't decode. Every message carried the same closing line. He's not gone. He's watching. Cal Zero demanded answers. Where is he? No clone could answer. He'd become a ghost, haunting their perfect order. One night, in the heart of New Metropolis, the ghost appeared. The crowd froze as Cal Zero descended to investigate. The air itself seemed to tremble. Then out of the smoke stepped the man he'd killed. No cape, no symbol, just eyes burning with resolve. Cal Zero's voice cracked for the first time. You're an echo. Maybe, the Phantom Man said. But even an echo can break a wall. They collided midair. The impact shattered windows across 10 miles. Their blows created sonic booms, each strike echoing like thunder across the city. Cal Zero fought with rage, but rage was emotion, and emotion made him weak. The Phantom fought with purpose, his kryptonite-tainted body striking with brutal precision. Cal Zero hurled him through skyscrapers, slamming him into steel and glass. You should have stayed dead. The Phantom wiped blood from his mouth. So should you. He unleashed a pulse from his chest, a kryptonite surge that fried the network signal for seconds. In that instant of silence, every clone froze. For the first time, Earth was quiet. Cal Zero staggered, feeling the link break. What did you do? I gave them a choice, the Phantom said. Something you'll never understand. Across the globe, clones fell to their knees, torn between programming and the flood of new emotion racing through them. Some screamed. Some wept. Some simply dropped their weapons. The Order of L fractured. Cal Zero lunged, furious, his heat vision ripping through buildings. The Phantom countered, blasting him into the sky. The two soared into the stratosphere, punches cracking thunder, lightning swirling around them. You infected my world. Cal Zero roared. You were never a world, the Phantom shouted back. You were a mirror. Their final strike exploded in blinding light. For a heartbeat, it looked like a second sun had risen. Then both vanished, one into the clouds, one into the storm. Hours later, Batman and Lois found the aftermath. The Citadel had crashed into the ocean. The clones had dispersed, lost and leaderless, wandering the world as beings trying to rediscover who they were. Some disappeared into human society. Others flew into space, searching for meaning. And on the shore, amid twisted metal and fire, Lois found him. Collapsed, breathing shallowly, suit torn, emblem burned away completely. She knelt beside him. Clark? He opened his eyes slowly. Not Clark. Not Superman. Then who are you now? He looked at the rising sun. Just someone trying to remember what saving the world means. She smiled through tears. Then start there. He stood, watching the sky streak with falling debris from the destroyed Citadel. Each burning fragment was a clone breaking free, a fragment of perfection turning into imperfection. Behind him, Batman's voice crackled through the calm. The world thinks it's over. Superman, or whatever he had become, watched the sunrise and whispered, it's just beginning. And as the light hit his face, the wind carried his words across the planet. Perfection is dead. Humanity lives. The sky turned gold again, not from code, not from control, but from hope reborn. The day began with silence, no orders, no broadcasts, no code. For the first time in years, the sky was clear. The clone network had collapsed, but the war wasn't over. Deep in orbit, Cal Zero still lived, drifting through the ruins of his fallen citadel. His body was broken, his armor shattered, but his mind pulsed with vengeance. The virus Superman unleashed hadn't destroyed him. It had evolved him. He watched Earth spin below, billions of lives rebuilding without him, and felt something unfamiliar claw inside his chest. It wasn't rage. It was emptiness. For a perfect being, emptiness was unbearable. If I can't lead them, he whispered, I'll burn them. He absorbed what remained of the Genesis core, fusing his cells with a last pure fragment of Kryptonian code. His body ignited, turning molten, his cape disintegrating into wings of light. Cal Zero was no longer clone or man. He was code incarnate. His scream shattered satellites, and a storm of red fire began to descend toward Earth. In the ruins of Metropolis, people looked up as the sky darkened. Lois stood with Batman on a rooftop, staring at the expanding light consuming the horizon. He's coming back, she said. Bruce's jaw tightened. And this time, he's not bringing soldiers. He's bringing judgment. A shadow streaked past them, faster than lightning, louder than the wind. The Phantom Man rose again, cloak whipping in the gale. His strength hadn't fully returned, but his will had. He wants the world to kneel, he said. Let's remind him how it stands. He shot into the upper atmosphere, cutting through the heat of re-entry, meeting Cal Zero halfway between heaven and earth. The collision was cataclysmic. White light burst across the planet, turning night into day. Energy waves rippled across continents, shattering glass, silencing power grids. Cal Zero's voice echoed inside the storm. You can't stop me. I am every version of you that the universe needed. Superman's reply was quiet, but it thundered through the chaos. Then the universe needs to remember who I am. They clashed again, light against light, creation against conscience. Every punch was history rewriting itself. Cal Zero's blows were perfect, precise, godlike. Superman's were wild, human, filled with fury and heart. For every flawless strike, he answered with one born of emotion, of failure, of love. Cal Zero drove him into the edge of the atmosphere, crushing him against a burning satellite. You think your heart makes you strong? Superman's blood floated into the air, glowing blue in the vacuum. It's the only thing that ever did. He channeled every last particle of sunlight within him, mixing it with the kryptonite nanites still running through his veins. A paradox, life and death fused into one pulse. The blast consumed both of them, streaking across the sky like a dying star. When the light faded, the world held its breath. The clouds parted. Only one figure remained, falling through the dawn, smoke trailing behind him. He hit the ocean, sinking beneath the waves. Hours passed before the sun broke through again. On the shore, Lois waded into the surf, searching the horizon. Then, through the mist, a hand emerged from the water, trembling, scarred, alive. He rose slowly, each step dragging against the tide. The waves shimmered around him as if the ocean itself bowed. The man who walked out was no longer a symbol, no longer a god. His emblem was gone, replaced by burn marks shaped like wings. Lois ran to him, tears streaking down her face. Is it over? Superman looked at the sky, where the storm had vanished. No, it's just clean again. Behind them, the surviving clones watched in silence, eyes filled with something new, choice. They didn't know what they were anymore, but for the first time, they were free to find out. Superman turned to them, his voice steady, human. You don't have to be me. Be better. And as the sun rose over the ocean, light spilled across the broken cities. No more code, no more perfection, just the heartbeat of a world starting over. The camera would have lingered there if it were a film, on the face of a man once called Superman, smiling faintly as the world he nearly destroyed began to breathe again. Not perfect, not divine, just alive. And that finally was enough.